Hey there, Knicks fans. We're back with our partners over at FANATICS Sportsbook, and they're making it easy to score big with exclusive Thanksgiving and Black Friday rewards. This Thanksgiving, you'll get 2 same-game parlay 50% profit boost tokens and a 25% anytime touchdown scorer profit boost to use on any of the 3 pro football games this Thursday. Keep the winning streak going on Black Friday with 3 25% same-game parlay profit boost tokens to use across the NBA slate and a 50% college football profit boost. Plus, join Fanatics and enter the Black Friday FANCASH drop for free. It's your weekly chance to win up to $10,000 in FANCASH. Other sportsbooks, they don't hit right. Fanatics Sportsbook, winning just hits different here. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show, presented by FANATICS Sportsbook. It is your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you here on Thanksgiving Eve, which used to be one of my favorite nights of the year back when I was a much younger man. Alas, now the only thing that I have to concern myself with is making sure that that turkey is drying out in the old fridge. But thankfully, tonight, I was given something to be excited about that reminded me of my youth, because tonight was a party at the expense of the Charlotte Hornets. The Knicks win this one. Final score 129-101. I would characterize the entire second half of this game as an exercise in futility for really both sides. I mean, this game was over at halftime when the Knicks took a 25-point lead on a 13-0 run going into halftime. And I think that's where we have to start. Because that run, and really you could even extend it a little bit further to go with the entire first half, all the good stuff, at least about the first half. And it was pretty much all good. I think you can point in some way, shape, or form back to Josh Hart. So interesting that when did the report come out? I think a report on the starting 5 came out about an hour before game time. It was about 6:10 that we were getting a starting lineup change. And I will be curious, so don't mind me as I check my phone. I'm going to be a bad host. But I am going to be curious. Actually, Mark, on the ones and twos, maybe he could keep an eye out for if Mike Brown says anything in this press conference, because I would imagine he will be asked about the starting lineup change because Mitch was back tonight. He was available to go. Now, he was coming off of an illness. So some theories, maybe that's why Brown didn't go back to Mitch in the starting 5. I'm not so sure. In any case, we got Josh Hart as a starter once again, like he was the other night in Brooklyn. Again, the difference being Mitchell Robinson being back tonight. Mitchell Robinson had started every other game that he had been a part of. And Deuce McBride also remaining in the starting 5. So before we even get to the game, I was looking at this and I was like, interesting. From a couple of perspectives. You could go with the Knicks wanting to, put the best offensive lineup on the floor that they possibly could. And I don't know that there's much disputing the fact that at least with the personnel they have active right now, OG Anunoby's still on the shelf, that this is the best offensive lineup that they have. And a team like Charlotte, Charlotte, they take such, I'm sure we'll talk about the Hornets at some point tonight. They take such crazy shots. I almost think they're a team that not that they're impervious to good defense, but you kind of have to keep up with them. And I thought, maybe this starting 5 was an effort to do that. Okay. Maybe Josh Hart liked how it felt being back in the starting lineup on Monday night and was like, you know what? I'd like some more of that. And to that end, it was interesting reading Steve Popper wrote a great column for Newsday. And shout out, by the way, to I think it was Ben posted a little snapshot from that comment in the chat Knicks.com app where we were talking it up tonight, in which Brown, was quoted at a recent press conference saying it took him a while to figure out kind of how to use Hart, and he has some regrets maybe not putting Hart back in some games early in the year. Josh Hart talking about how it's been open lines of communication and just both of them talking as two guys who have gotten to know each other more and more and more. And it seems like things are in a good place now. And I don't know, maybe Brown has kind of warmed up to the idea that pretty much every other coach Josh Hart has ever had has eventually warmed up to, which is that if you have a choice to have Josh Hart on your basketball team or either on the basketball court, more or less, you're probably going to want to choose more because he just does things that lead to winning. So I don't know. Are we now going to have a go back to the original starting lineup? Might it be Deuce as the fifth starter once OG gets back? We'll probably have a little bit of time to figure this out. Or you know what? Maybe it's Mike Brown just kind of going matchup basketball. Hornets fast team. Fly up and down the court. Mitch the conditioning has not quite been there. And then there's my last theory, which is that Karl-Anthony Towns is coming off of one of his two best offensive games of the year. And Mike Brown wanted to try to continue to foster that strong play. And, and I think there was a lot of conversation last year, somewhat justifiably, about how Josh Hart's presence on the court was impacting Karl-Anthony Towns' ability to be an effective offensive player, or at least as effective of an offensive player as he could be. And I think some of that had to do with Josh Hart not playing up to his standards. Some of that had to do with the starting five just being in a bad place. Some of that absolutely had to do with the coach. I think there was a lot of reasons for it, but in no way, shape, or form did I ever look at those five players and said they cannot succeed on the court together. I don't care who they're playing. I don't care what coverages defenses are throwing at them. And so for Mike Brown tonight to go with this lineup, maybe to get Towns going, whatever the reason is, this is the direction Mike Brown decided to go. And despite the fact that the Hornets got out to an 8-2 lead, I think the results were pretty unanimously positive. I will go ahead and check our friends at Pivot Fade what the starting lineup was tonight in terms of like a plus minus, but it just take a look at the starters. McBride plus 27, Brunson plus 16, Bridges plus 23, Hart plus 20. Cat was the only one who was kind of low, it was plus 6. But like the proof is in the pudding. You saw it. You saw it there in the first quarter. And I think what you saw was a few things. I think for one, and again, we're going to talk about Hart more, but I think you saw Karl-Anthony Towns, and I know Karl did not end up having a great game. He certainly did not have a good shooting game, a couple silly fouls in there. I thought Cat looked really comfortable and confident going into the post. He was patient down there. And you wonder, with all that space that he had to work with, was it just a more comfortable setting for Cat where he could take his time a little bit? Now, again, a lot of that had to do with who he was playing and the fact that the Hornets do not really have that ideal big physical wing to throw on him. Whatever it was, I thought that was working really well. I thought once they kind of, got over themselves a little bit and started playing with a little bit of pace and urgency, I thought the offense as a whole looked really, really good. Mikal Bridges, I mean, my God, Mikal's been great all year, but in this lineup tonight, I thought Mikal had one of his best games of the season, and that's saying something because, again, he's been awesome. But the real star of the show, and we haven't even mentioned Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson just went out there and did Jalen Brunson things tonight, which is funny. He ended up as the Knicks' leading scorer, and he hit a lot of nasty shots. I don't even know if his performance was one of my favorite three of the game because Bridges, Hart, we've kind of already been talking about it. And then Deuce, absolutely outstanding. Him in this lineup where he is kind of the fifth man on the totem pole here. I think that's a much more comfortable look for him. And it helps when you take 5 threes and make all 5 of those threes. But Hart, I mean, look, there was a debate going on in our KFS betting and sweating chat. I was trying to pay attention to it, but I was also trying to pay attention to the game too. about, where if this version of Hart, he's a top what NBA player, top 30 NBA player, top 40 NBA player, top 50 NBA player. I mean, whatever it is, it's a solid number. And this is the version of the Knicks. What you saw tonight, again, I know who the opponent was. I get it. 129, 101, take it with many grains of salt because it's Charlotte. LaMelo, my God. Anyway, but the style of play that they went out with and their ability to just really play off of each other on the offensive end. And I also want to give a nod to the defense tonight because they had been defending like crap. I thought they defended better in Brooklyn. It helps that it's Brooklyn. And I thought for as well as they were playing for most of the first half, the reason why, if you were watching that game, you felt a little nervous and why the lead never really seemed to get above like 12, 13, 14 points was because they were leaving a little bit to be desired on the defensive end. Jordan Clarkson, hello, hi, nice to meet you. Maybe bring a little bit more. I know he had a nice defensive play in the second half, but still. And then they just turned on the Jets. And then they started turning the defense into offense. And you look at the box score tonight, McBride 2 steals, Bridges 3 steals, 2 blocks. I mean, Bridges is making not a case. He probably would get one of the 10 all defense spots if the season ended today. I know I don't know if the Knicks have the defensive rating, and I don't think the on-offs with Bridges are like anything special. I'll look them up, but I mean, just individually, outstanding stuff. And he's gonna, if he keeps this up, like his steal and block numbers are gonna be pretty undeniable. So anyway, 3 steals, 2 steals, 2 blocks tonight for Bridges, and then 3 steals for Josh Hart. Mitchell Robinson had 3 steals. So they really ratcheted it up on the defensive end, which again, it's interesting because conventional wisdom would say, and we've been talking about this a lot, right? Noah Anunoby, I made the case with Jeremy 5 days ago or 4 days ago, whatever it was. Is OG Anunoby the most important player on the Knicks? Because of how much he ups the ceiling and ups the floor, frankly, on the defensive end. But, at the end of the day, even if OG is not there, even if Mitch is not peak Mitch, and I think he's still not quite there, although I thought it was a better performance from Mitchell Robinson tonight than some of the ones we've seen recently. Even with those 2 caveats, they still have the ability to be a good defense. Maybe not a great defense. I don't think without OG and with Mitch looking like this, I don't think they have the potential to be like a top 10 defense for an entire season if they had to play with this lineup the entire season. But they could be, 14, 15, something like that, which in fairness is not far from where they are, albeit they have slipped down the rankings since they have lost OG. And we know that. But the performance tonight was very good. I thought they stayed in front better. The intensity was just a little bit higher. And I mean, look, Towns is always going he's going to have his moments, and he was in drop on a couple of occasions where it's like you're not taking really anything away in that sort of drop. But like, look, those are kind of selective plays here and there. I was encouraged by what I saw on the defensive end, almost as much as I was encouraged by some of the stuff we saw on the offensive end. And I mean, the focus is on the starting 5 tonight. I mentioned Mitch. Clarkson did look his little offensive flurry that he had there. We had like a couple of buckets in a short period of time. I thought that was important. They need him. They need, even when they get fully healthy, they need a scorer off the bench who could just get them some buckets, especially when Jalen Brunson's not in the game. He just needs to be a little bit better on defense. And then let's end here before we move on to super chats and send everybody off to their Thanksgiving Eve slumber or maybe parties. I hope people are watching this and going out partying. That would make me so happy. As the Heat win again, I'm just looking up and seeing that. Man, that train is rolling. Let's end with Tyler Kolek. Tyler Kolek moved up into the rotation with the injury to Landry Shamet. And by the way, we should say Landry Shamet, good news today that he is rehabbing, no surgery. That's good. After we got the news, I was like, well, that makes perfect sense, because if he opted to have the surgery, the Knicks would have just waived him. And now at least he's going to try to rehab it, so he'll stay on the team, and he was on a non-guaranteed contract and the whole thing. Ian Begley then sent out a clarifying tweet saying if the Knicks had waived him, if he had had the surgery, he still would have gotten paid. Now, I'm frankly not clear on how that would work in terms of would that still count against the cap. I saw Keith Smith like something that he like responded, but then I couldn't tell what the answer is to that particular question. Either way, Shamet's going to be out for at least a month. He'll be reevaluated after he rehabs the shoulder. Hopefully it gets better, but his absence now means that Tyler Kolek gets a shot, and they need Tyler Kolek to be good. And Tyler Kolek tonight was good. He was a plus 15 in 15 minutes. He had a nice little scoring flurry late. It was awesome to see that 3-pointer go in, even though it was in garbage time. I'm sure it felt good for him to see that too. And like, I just don't know how else to say it. They just need a real organizer, and even more than an organizer, someone who could really make a play on the, and like, the thing is, when they don't have Brunson on the court and they don't have that typical advantage creator, everybody steps up in weight class. So now it's whether it's Bridges doing the initiation or whatever, Bridges the most talented perimeter player, or even if you try to go to Towns, there's that much more attention on Towns. So anytime you could get, if there's a moment where you could thread and eat a pass into somebody who has slipped, to the hoop or is leaking out in transition, and Tyler Kolek could throw every one of those passes. So he needs to hold up on defense, which he's been doing. He needs to not have the silly turnovers, which he was having for a little while there when he was excised from the rotation earlier in the season. Seems to have done away with those. And then ideally hit a shot every now and then. Now, I know he had to look at the basket that he kicked out to, I forget who it was in the corner, and Clyde was like, I want Kolek to take that shot. No, I think that was the right pass out to the corner. It was a great pass. But I also get where Clyde's coming from. So great stuff from him. Last thing, I know I shouted out Mikal Bridges, but I think Benji may tweeted out the video of this, the clip of this. He had maybe my favorite two-way sequence of the entire season, and that ended in an alley-oop dunk. I think it was from Brunson, which was preceded by a block. But my favorite part of that sequence was the thing that started it, which is where, and I want to end with this before we get to the super chats, because this is the sort of thing that the Knicks have been missing. They were in rotation, and Bridges and the ball kicked to the corner, and Bridges had to hustle to get to the corner to contest the shot. He managed to contest the shot, but he kept his body control. One, he didn't foul, and two, he was able to land and stay with the ball handler as after the fake and drive along the baseline and to get the block. It was I felt like it was one of the best non-OG, certainly, defensive plays that we've seen from any Knick this season. And that's again, if they get this version of Mikal Bridges, and Brunson does what he does and Towns does what he could do, and then OG gets back, and then you get this version of Hart, it's crazy. How many days ago? Was it Saturday? 5 days ago? We're sitting there writing the obituary for this team, and then you see this stuff tonight. I will say one more time for the cheap seats. Yes, it helps that it's Charlotte, but this stuff does all count. And I don't mean it just counts in the standings. I mean it counts in building up this thing under this new coach, new year, integrating some new guys, going a little bit younger here. It helps to build all of the bit by bit by bit so that the next time you play the Magic or whenever you play the Pistons or the Cavs or, one of those West teams, which those should be interesting games. You can't just, it's like a video game. You can't jump to the final boss. You have to go one step at a time. And I think that's why games like this do matter. So, again, my motto this year, take no win for granted and don't, enjoy every win. That's the key. Enjoy every win, even if it is against the craptastic, LaMelo Ball led Charlotte Hornets. Okay.
Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatics Sportsbook app.